All right, we're back, Rock Forever, and we've got the sister of the killer, JerryLeeLewis, the amazing Linda Gail Lewis. Linda, you are rocking up a storm. You got the Family Jewels tour. You got your daughter out there, your son-in-law. Of course, we know him, and Danny is an amazing guitarist and writer, and you say organ, everything. Danny B. Harvey. Um, what an amazing life to have all this history, and you're not done. You're making new records for Cleopatra and talking about recording down at Sun Studios, where Sam Phillips made so much magic, and you of course had the early sides out, 63 to 73. Tell us how that came together. Did Danny pitch that to Cleopatra that, hey, this is who I'm working with, and I think you guys should put this out?
It was Danny's idea, and Brian liked the idea, and I have to say it was a really good idea. I didn't know how I felt about it at first because I never did think I was singing some of those songs exactly right. You know how you listen to something and think, "Oh, I could have done that better." But Danny remastered everything, and the sound is so good on it, and my brother's playing piano on some of the tracks, on a lot of the tracks, and I've got two duets on there with my brother. And when I listened to it when they got it all together, I was absolutely delighted with it, and I'm really proud of it, and I'm so happy that we have someone like Brian and Cleopatra Records that will release good music in today's world. Thank God for them, and thank God for my son-in-law. He's really great. He did a wonderful job putting that together.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like back to the 60s where you had all these little indie labels and they take chances on artists and do the thing. But now you can be a label like Cleopatra and not have to worry about mainstream radio and this big video and all that. You can just go to the markets, love it. You can promote it through social media. You can help get the act out on the road and go to those great festivals and those cities that been eating up this music for decades. So it's niche, niche marketing, and I love it. You're not having to try and appeal to everybody. You going right for a proven market. I know the rockabilly circuit is certainly hopping. Danny's been out there with so many bands, and talk about him becoming part of your family, because I know you talk about your daughter, of course, Annie Marie, Lewis, and she was out there performing in Vegas or wherever, and Danny's like, wow, she is beautiful, and getting the chance to meet her, and the next thing you know, lifelong soulmates.
Well, what happened was, we were opening for my brother, and Danny knew my niece at that time, and she got him a pass to be backstage, and he was there, and he saw Annie, and he called my niece, and he said, "Who is the blonde?" And so I think it was kind of love at first sight, and he got Annie's number and everything, and they talked to each other a lot for like 2 years. 2 years went by, a couple of years went by, because he was never in Atlanta when we were in Atlanta. We were living in Atlanta then, and we'd be in Europe when Danny was in Atlanta, and they'd missed each other. Finally, he was there to do a gig, and we were at home, and Annie said, "Well, I've got a date with this guy finally. I've been talking to him for 2 years." And I'd always said, "Oh my God, can you just fall in love with somebody that's really a great guitar player, songwriter, producer, those kinds of things? Can you do that? And that would be so much better for us." And it actually happened. They went out on that first date. It was Danny's gig, and that was it. And the next thing I knew, just a few days later, Annie said, "Well, I'm going to go with Danny down to Austin, Texas, where he lives." I said, "Well, I call her little baby." I said, "Well, little baby, you just met this man." And she said, "Well, I feel like I know him. I think it'll be all right." So she came to Austin. They ended up getting married. And of course, I moved to Austin. I live in Wimberley now, near Austin. But so Texas, here we come. And that's how it all happened. And Danny's been wonderful to me. He's been wonderful for my career. He has helped me so much. One of the first things he did was produce an album on me, just as soon as we got together, he started with the albums, and they've been coming ever since. And they get better and better all the time. It's just wonderful, all the breaks that Brian has given me because of Danny. They are friends, and Brian would maybe never have known me if it hadn't been for Danny. So I'm very fortunate that I am meeting people like you. I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for Danny and Brian. So I'm very blessed.
Yeah. Well, it's Danny's like that bridge, he's gonna make sure that a younger guy like, Brian knows about these treasures. Your daughter and yourself are making amazing music. And I know, Danny obviously fell in love with this roots music early on in his life. It's in his blood. And he must just be tickled that, he's part of the Lewis family tree, and it's just got to be amazing to go out there and play the songs from the Killer and your originals, and then some of the classics. And I don't even know how you come up with the set. You got so many songs to choose from.
Most of the time, we don't have a set. I mean, I'll have a set. Danny always makes a set list for me. And a lot of the times I just don't go by it like I'm supposed to, but he's so sweet about it. But I'm bad about getting off the set list. But another thing that Danny and Brian have done for me is I'm doing actually this song for the Cramps tribute album with Clem Burke. And he is so great. When I was in the studio with him, I was just blown away. I was like, oh my God, I've never heard anybody play drums like this.
Yeah, it's like a shotgun going off behind you. He hits that damn snare and the bass drum, and you can tell he puts his whole body into it. And
he's wonderful. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Besides Blondie, he's played with the Romantics and so many of those great groups that just, revel in that roots music. And you can tell that he's got it in his spirit. And I've had many experiences with Clem, and I call him the greatest rock and roll drummer out there because he's so concise, he's precise. Like I say, he doesn't need the big kit and all the extras. He said, just give me the basics. I'm ready to go, and he'll make do whatever you give him. And it's just amazing.
Annie playing guitar and Clem playing drums, and I'm singing, and I'm just in heaven with that.
Yeah, you're getting it from both earshots, Clem and Danny just loving what they're doing. And yeah, the Cramps, boy, they took that rockabilly and twisted it up. And Lux Interior was just one of the craziest front men ever. And he had his foil and his girl Poison Ivy there, and they were just so visually striking. In a world of punk rock, they really stood out because Lux just loved that 50s rock and roll, but he had it come out with the voodoo and the twist. And Psychobilly was born. You started hearing sounds, but they were coming out different. But so many of the kids that were getting into their bands and the other bands we're starting to hear like, oh, that's a Chuck Berry song, or that's a Little Richard song, or Jerry Lee, played that one, and they're starting to learn the family tree. They're like, wow, I want to know who inspired, this band and that band. And I always find that great, because I always say there's only two kinds of music that moves you and music that doesn't. And if the music moves you and you love that artist, dig deep, find out who they were inspired by, how they came up, where they captured lightning in a bottle, because that's where the magic is, and it's so hard to have that hit single or that unique sound or that big mega hit, but you can study from so many sources that are out there and take a little bit of everything and kind of put your own flavor on it. Well, tell us about some of the songs that we can expect on the Family Jewels tour.
Oh, Family Jewels, that is the most wonderful DVD and CD that I've ever had out, because it's a real live show. And the people that filmed it and the people that did the sound, they brought a big sound truck out there. So there was no expense spared on that. It was the festival people who had plenty of money, and they recorded everybody that was on that festival and just gave it to them as a gift. They gave mine to me and they said, "This is a gift. It belongs to you and you can have this." And I was absolutely thrilled with it because it was one of the best shows, if not the best show that I have ever done in my life, in front of 10,000 people, with my son-in-law, Danny, there on guitar. And my daughter was there singing with me, and she was singing songs too. And our friend Sarah Gail Meach came out at the end of my set and was rocking with us. Oh, listen, it was the most wonderful night. And we have it all on DVD, and we have those songs on CD. And we're still doing 90% of those songs live on our shows.
And what city that was recorded in France?
It was in France. It was in this.
You know what city it was done in?
What, darling?
What city in France was it recorded in?
Well, we flew into Lyon, and
Okay.
then long ways to get out into the middle of nowhere. And the place was called Crapon, Crappon, and the E with a little asterisk over it. And I'm sure they will have all the information right on the CD and the DVD. But it was a beautiful place, absolutely beautiful. But it was this big festival, and no one wanted to go on after me for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why, but maybe that was a good thing that they didn't want to go on after me, because when we hit that stage, me and Annie and Danny and two guys from Sweden on bass and drums who were absolutely amazing, and we were rocking. And I forgot about the set list. I forgot about everything. I did so much rock and roll on that gig.
Yeah, no, there's nothing better than having incredible music in a beautiful natural setting like that.
Oh, it was outside.
South of France, you got the mountains, the vineyards, the coastline. There's so many beautiful areas there.
In some of the shots, you can see the background, like you can see the mountains and stuff, and you can see that big audience. And of course, a lot of times they're singing with me because they love old rock and roll. They love it.
Well, yeah, it's pretty amazing, how the Europeans had that quality that once they loved you and your music, they don't follow trends. They love you forever. And here it's so much, mass media and big radio, and if you don't have a current hit, they forget about you. And over there it's like, hey, it's like when Tina Turner came out after I Can Tina Turner. Over here she couldn't get arrested, couldn't even play the Chitlin circuit. But over there they made her the queen, and they embraced her and gave her that second life, which was way bigger than I Can Tina Turner.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was so big. And we kind of felt like we was on a show like that when we were in France, because there were so many people, and there were all these guys walking around with cameras filming us. It was wonderful, Jay. It was really wonderful. I'll never forget it, and I'm so happy that Brian is putting it out.
Well, yeah, no, that's a treasure. I mean, those generous promoters to be able to do that and hand you the rights, and here's the masters, do what you want with it. I mean, you just don't hear about that these days. That's really, really special. And yeah, no, it's a treasure that needs to be shared, and people can relive if they were there, and wish they were there if they weren't. It's pretty amazing. So I see about 2025 dates on the Family Jewels 22 tour, and I'm hoping you guys expand that. Is there some talk about bringing the band out to the West Coast?
There is. Brian and Danny have talked about that, and there's some really nice, important agent out there that they are talking to, and I'm hoping and praying, and I really actually believe that it will happen, that he will bring us out to California and the West Coast, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, I know, of course, Danny lived out here for years, and you have the big rockabilly shows they do there in Vegas. People come in from different states, for that whole Sin City kind of vibe, with history with Elvis and everybody there in Vegas. But yeah, no, it's music that's universal. It's welcomed everywhere. And I know the Bay Area, of course, Bill Graham up there, he was famously supported all the greats in rock and roll, and he created so many hybrids. Bill used to think, all right, well, rather than all the bands being in the same format, let's take this rootsy rock and roll band and put it in with this Latin jazz band, and then we'll do this soul funk singer, and then come up with this, acoustic, folk rock. I mean, he just would mix it up, and the audience would love it, because it wasn't like four bands and they all sounded the same.
That sounds like a great festival to me. I mean, we should have lots of different kinds of music on a festival. People enjoy that.
Yeah, well, he kind of invented that. You see the big festivals now, like Coachella and Lollapalooza and Bonnaroo out there in Tennessee, and it's like that now. You'll see all the different genres on there, and whoever you're going to see, you're going to get introduced to some other sound, some other artists you don't know, and hopefully you expand your musical vocabulary when you come back.
Absolutely. And we did this big festival in Butte, Montana just a few years ago, about 3 years ago, before the pandemic, of course. And they had this band from Africa that went on after us. And that was amazing. They were playing all these different kinds of instruments, this African music. And I really enjoyed that. They went on right after us. It was really great. And they had so many different kinds of music on that festival in Montana. I'll never forget that. That was amazing. And they said, well, we'll have you back in 10 years. I said, hope I'm still alive in 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, no, I was born in Billings, Montana, and used to go summers back there just north of Yellowstone. And it was some of the most beautiful mountains and lakes that I've seen anywhere in America. You'd have bison and elk and everything running wild. It was amazing. But yeah, Texas has always had such a rich musical community. I grew up all over the country and all over the world, but I went to junior high school there in Lubbock, Texas. And of course, that's the home of Buddy Holly and a lot of those guys. I think Merle Haggard or some of the other ones are from there. And you look at Texas with all those cities, Austin and Houston and Dallas and El Paso and Abilene and all that. And it's like a whole country. I always say California and Texas are more like countries than they are states. There's just so many cities, so many different kind of regions and cultural, things. But I always appreciated, I really learned that Texas had a very rich musical legacy and community there.
I love my gigs here in Texas. We just did a gig last Friday night in Denton, Texas, up near Fort Worth. And that was just wonderful. We had the most wonderful audience. People were really into the music. And the guy that hired us, who owns the place where we played, is called Dan Silverleaf. And the guy's name, of course, is Dan. And Dan was just lovely to us. And he wasn't just somebody just hiring somebody to play. He was really wanting to get to know us a little bit. And then he sat there for the whole show. He did not leave until we finished. What a nice man. And what a great experience it was playing. And we're going back there in December. We'll be playing there again in December. And I play Green Hall here in Green, Texas. And sometimes I go to Fredericksburg and play. And I play a lot in Austin. I got a gig coming up in December at the White Horse in Austin. So I love Texas. I love my gigs here.
Yeah, they call Austin the live music capital. There's so many clubs and bars and places, and yeah, no, it's great to see. And I know the younger generations have it so nice that they can come up and see such a wide variety of artists and decades of greatness that they can draw from, and whether they enjoy them live or might inspire them to pick up an instrument or a paintbrush or get out and dance, do something. It's really, I think, important to keep the creativity in our young people. I know, with budget cuts and stuff, they pulled so much of the arts and music out of schools. I'm sure you agree that it's important to keep the future of America, creative. Give them, the world is not all computers. You gotta learn how to think outside the box and see what's in your heart and brain, and create, whether you just do it on the side or it turns into a career. I think it's just so important. And I remember there in Lubbock, I had a guitar teacher that used to play with all the crickets and all the bands, and he would learn all the new songs. I'm like 9, 10 years old playing top 40 songs, and he'd book us into the school dances and all that. And it was so great that I didn't have that in school, but he made it so easy to just after school once a week, just come over and ease into it, get your guitar, and I'm going to teach you some songs. And it was it's such an important part of people's growth.
Well, it makes me very happy when I look out in the audience when we're playing around here, especially when we're at the White Horse in Austin. I would say 70 or 80% of that crowd is really young people. And I look out and I see them enjoying it, and we're doing Johnny Be Good or a whole lot of shaking going on, and they are so happy and they're dancing and they love it. And I'm thinking, wow, this is the music of their grandparents, and they love this. This is so cool. It's so great. Makes me happy.
Yeah, it really should, because it's an American treasure, that music, those songs, the history that you are part of. And like I say, we can't express enough love for Jerry Lee Lewis, because he is the last remaining, living member of those rock and roll pioneers, the Little Richards, the Chuck Berrys, the Carl Perkins, all of them. We've lost so many of them, and the fact that Jerry is still breathing, and of course, we love what Dennis Quaid did with that movie, Great Balls of Fire. It's a timeless movie. I was watching clips of it today, and like I know that really put a spark in Jerry's career, and everybody wanted to. The younger people, like, who is this guy? He's still alive? Wow, let's go see him.
He got a lot more gigs that were really big paying gigs. He's making a lot more money. That movie, when it came out, really helped him in that way. And then, of course, when they did that album, Last Man Standing, that also helped his career. It's just been building up. It's been building up for him for so long in so many different ways. But Dennis Quaid, of course, is a Jerry Lee Lewis fan. And we appreciate Dennis so much.
Do you know, has Dennis ever met Jerry?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I figured he would try. Once he got the movie role, he's probably can we arrange a meeting?
They are friends, and I've met him only just briefly, but Jerry knows him. They know each other.
And you told me that Jerry just recorded some new music. Is it with your cousin?
It is with my cousin. He has done this gospel album in Baton Rouge in Jimmy's studio. It's Jimmy Swaggart, and he's our double cousin. He's almost like a brother. He's so close kin. But I'm excited about it, and I think it's so great that Jerry is well enough and has recovered enough from that awful major hemorrhagic stroke that he had 2.5 years ago. He's recovered enough that he can now get on an airplane and fly to Baton Rouge and go in a recording studio and work all day recording. And the album's absolutely wonderful. They both sound so good on the album.
And do you know when that's coming out?
It's out now.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah, it's out.
What's it called?
Jimmy Lee and Jerry Lee, the boys from Faraday. It's the gospel album. In fact, I think you just would only have to put in just those two names, and it's all going to come right up. and on Facebook and everywhere. It's being advertised. Jimmy has a Facebook page, Jimmy Swaggart Ministries, and he's advertising it on there. And I've shared several of his posts. And I love that album. I love the way they did it. And Jimmy's got some wonderful, talented people that work with him. And and I love the songs they pick. They pick some of the old Southern gospel songs, and I love those.
Yeah, well, we
I love
can't wait to spread the word on that. And of course, the Family Jewels tour and your early sides. And I know there's more coming with that music coming out of Memphis you're going to be making. So this is
There's
such
a
a
lot
treat.
going on. There is a lot going on,
Oh
Jay.
my gosh, a whole lot of shaking going on here. This is pretty amazing. Well, our special guest has been the one and only Linda GAIL Lewis. You know her as the sister of the killer, JerryLeeLewis, and we can't thank you enough. The stories, the reminiscing, it makes us appreciate the music more. I always say the music is finite. There's only so many albums out there that these artists made, but if you can really get inside their story, inside their history a little bit. And of course that movie certainly helped. And you know, there's movies on Elvis and the Chuck Berry movie, Hail Hail Rock and Roll. It just makes you appreciate the music even more, because now
Yes,
you
Joe.
look at it in a new light and new ears, you know. But Linda, thank you so much. We can't wait to see you keep that tour going. Please come out west, and the sunshine, the beaches, we're waiting for you. We can't wait to hear that music. And of course, wherever you are in the country, please, you know, follow her, Linda GAIL Lewis, and check out, of course, the amazing band, the Family Jewels tour coming your way with Danny B. Harvey, and of course, your beautiful daughter, Annie Marie Lewis. So, Linda, thank you so much. I can't tell you what a treat it's been, but I just know that we're going to touch a lot of people with these interviews. And I know, like your brother's music, this is timeless stuff. So please keep making that music, keep safe. Hats off to your beautiful husband there. And what a great family you have. Like I said, I've known Danny for years, and I just know that it's just a beautiful, beautiful family affair there. So Linda, until our next conversation, I can't wait to see you live, and we'll spread the word. Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm looking forward to coming out there and seeing you live and in person.